Welcome back, guys. So in this video I will show you how can you create a survey and how can you add controls to your survey. So again, if you have ArcGIS Online Enterprise or if you have ArcGIS Online Organization account, you can do the steps I'm going to show you right now. So here I'm going to show you how to do that through ArcGIS Online Organization account. So when you log into your organization account on the home page, you will see on the top right here the icons for the apps. And I'm sure by now you know what this shows because it shows you all the other applications that you can access from here. So here we have Survey123, and this is the one that we will use so we can create our survey. So this web page is not to collect surveys. This one is to design and create surveys. There is another URL that we're gonna see how to use to collect surveys on a browser, but here you design the survey. Here, as you see, I have no surveys at all. So the first thing we will do is to create a new survey by clicking on this button on the top here. And here it asks you, do you want to create a blank survey? Do you have an existing template that you want to use? Or you want Survey123 Connect? Survey123 Connect is a desktop app that I'm going to have a separate video for you to show you how can you create a survey using the Survey123 Connect and how to use XLSX forms to create the surveys. But for now, we're going to create a blank survey because we don't have an existing template. When we create a survey, we can save it as a template and we can use it in any new survey we create. So right now we will just create a blank survey and we will click Get Started. Here I will name my survey as ArcGIS Mastery Survey, tags Survey123, summary, this is my new survey. And we will click Create. So now we created an empty survey that we will start to add controls to it. The way you add these controls on the survey and the order you add these controls is exactly the order are going to show up on your phone app when your users use this survey. So right now here we design the survey. So on the top here we have these tabs. This tab show you an overview. You can delete your survey here, or you can change the name, the summary, or the tags, or change the thumbnail, but you need to publish it first. As you see here, this is a draft survey. Please publish the design page first to make it work. So you cannot do anything in the overview unless you publish it, or you can delete the survey from here. Here is the design where we are going to create the design for this form. And then in the next video, I will show you the other settings and what we have by analyze the data, and we can change the settings to change the sharing and change the collaboration. But right now we are going to focus on the design. And here on the right side, here's all the controls that you can add for your survey. So you can add a survey as a single text, as a multi-text, single choice, multi-single choice, and you have so many different controls here that every single control have a different reason for it and different usage for it. And I want you to know that once you create a survey, there is a feature layer created for this survey. And this feature layer is already published on ArcGIS Online, your organization account, as a feature service. And for each control you add, it will create a column or create a field in this feature service. So for example, if I created a single line text and I added it to my design, you see here that right now I can change the label for this one. I will call it single line text control. And here I can give a hint for the people to see what they need to enter in this value here. So here I can please enter your name. And here I can add a default value for this. So for example, I'm gonna be the only one who adds surveys, so I can add my name as a default value. If this is the value needs the name, so I can, every time I create a new survey, this value will be already the default. I don't need to add it every single time if it's going to be the exact same entry. This is a required question. That means that you cannot submit the survey unless you have this filled up. If it's a multi-choice, you have to choose something. If it's a drop-down, you have to choose a choice. If it's a single line text, you must enter some value in this text in order for you to add or submit this survey. And as you see here, once I checked this one, there is here required icon that shows the red one. That means that you cannot leave this one empty. And if you want to leave it empty, make sure to uncheck this is a required question. So here I'm going to set it as a required question. Here you can set the minimum and the maximum value for this text. So because this is a free entry text, so here set the minimum and the maximum character count. That will set the maximum character the user can enter in this text box. So here I'm gonna set the minimum to 0 and I'm gonna set the maximum to 100, which means that no one can enter like their name more than a 100 character as their name. If they enter more than 100 character, it will refuse the entry, and it will let them know that this is exceeding the number of the characters allowed. Cache answer to this question means that every time the user open a new survey, he will automatically will see the value that they entered before. So if I didn't set a default value, and the first time I entered my name, Acer, and then the second time I opened the new survey, I will see my name as what it was equal to the first time I entered it. Which means that if you want to make it easier for the users to add multiple surveys, you need to make sure that you have cache answer to this question is checked, and this is all the options you have for the single line text control. Now you don't need to add anything. This is for the save. You can save anytime, and this is to publish, and this is to do a preview, but we don't need to do this right now. We need to check all the other controls. So here we checked the single line text. We have a multi-line text, and that will allow you to add multiple lines for your text you are entering. So you can add comments, you can add general notes, you can add multiple things in this multi-text control. And also you can have add the hint and add the default value, and you have the same options here as you have with the single line text. The second control we have is single choice. And single choice will allow the user to choose one thing out of the choices you set. So here, for example, I will say, what is today? And the choices will be, because today is either going to be one of the 7 days, right? So let's say, for example, here I can add, say, Tuesday, Monday, Friday, Sunday, and you can add as many as you want. So here, after I added my values, they change it here so the user will be able to choose one out of these. So you can show your choices as ordered here. You can order them the way you ordered here, or you can show them randomly, and they're going to be random based on maybe on alphabetic order. But it's better to keep this unchecked because you want your order to be the way you ordered them initially. You can make a defaulted choice to be this one, and this is going to be the defaulted choice to be selected all the time. When the user come to this question, he will see this selected, but the user can change the selection, or you can uncheck it and then you will let the user choose. You can set this as a required question, so you make sure that the user choose one of the values before they submit it. You can also cache this one. And here on the top we have patch edit. Patch edit means that it allows you an easy way to add multiple choices instead of adding one by one. And the way to add one by one is to press on this plus sign. If you press on plus sign here, you will add one right here. If you press on the plus sign right here, you will add one below it. So every time you click on the plus sign, it will create a new choice below the original choice you choose. If you want to delete one of the choices, you click on this minus sign and it will delete it for you. Here also you can click on this one and reorder it however you want. So here's the options you have. You can select the defaulted choice, and this is only one choice. You cannot select multiple. And you can add as many as you want, and you can delete any of these choices. At least you need two choices. You know, you cannot have choices unless you have two choices. So at least you need two. So don't delete all of them. And this one on the right side, you can reorder your choices. So let's delete the ones that we just added and keep Tuesday, Monday, Sunday. We still have 4 other days left in the week that we need to add. This batch edit option here will make it easier for you to add as many choices as you want at once. So if you have a list of, let's say, 100 choice and you want to add all of them at once, you don't need to add one by one and add the value for it. You can just come to the batch edit and say here Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, and then Saturday, Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday. Now we have the whole week. All what we need to do is just click OK, and we have all the choices set up the way we want. And you can reorder them however you want, or you can leave them the way you are. And this option will allow others. Others mean that the user can say, oh, today is not Tuesday, Monday, or Sunday, or Saturday, or any of these days. It's another day, which is not possible in this case. But it could be like one of the choices that you ask the survey person, for example, like they go to survey a kind of animal, and most likely they're going to see a cat or a dog. But maybe sometimes they can see a turtle or like a monkey. So you don't have these choices. You can allow them to choose other. And when they choose other, they will be able to enter the value for the other. Here it shows you the option for the appearance. It tells you like they want the appearance to be vertical or horizontal. As you see, you have different choices to however you want your design to look like. You can change it from here. And it's always nice to make it horizontal if you have small text, like this one is good for horizontal. If you have a long text, you can make it vertical, but it's completely up to you. And here's the validation, make this required or not. So this is the second control, or the third control we have here, which is single choice. There is a single choice grid, and this is the fourth control we have right here. So you can just drag it and drop it. And here you have multiple choices, but as a grid. So for example, here I have the choice one, which is here. It's gonna be like, let's say dog, and here let's say it's a cat, and here let's say horse. And here I can say the colors, black, white, brown. And that will allow me to, let's say for example, if I'm doing survey on kind of animals, what colors is the animals in this area, and the choices is it's either going to be a dog, a cat, or a horse, and most likely going to be black or white or brown. Then the user can say this survey that they recorded a cat that is a white cat, or they can record a black dog or a brown horse. So as you see here, you create a grid, looks like a table, and the user can make their choices from here. So that's different from this one. This one you make one choice, this one you make one choice, but still can apply to two things. And you have the same way to add a batch edit for the x-axis or the y-axis from here or from here. And if we go to the controls again, we have here multiple choices, and multiple choices will allow the user to choose multi choices. So for example here, this one in the multi-choice one, we can choose this one and this one as a default. Everything else works exactly the same way as a single choice, but because this is a multi-choice, you can allow the user to select multiple things at the same time. They don't have to choose one thing. So for example here you can add the dog, cat, and a horse, and they can say, oh, I saw a dog and a cat, or I saw only a horse at this time. It's up to them. And everything else is exactly the same. You can set the minimum value and the maximum value, and you can set if it's required or not, and you can set all the settings for this question same way as you want. So here we're going to add a new drop down, and drop down is a really important one because this is the one that you can use to give other choices, but they have to choose only one. So sometimes you need to use a drop down instead of using a single choice, because the drop down can allow you to have, let's say for example, 150 choice. So if you have 150 choices and you need the user to choose one, it's not a good idea to add it as a single choice or even a multi-choice. You need to make sure that you have a drop down so you don't take space into your survey. And the drop down, as you see, it will exactly look like how you set up the choices. You have the batch edit where you can add multiple choices. You have the label, you have the hint. You have the choices here where you can add and remove a choice, or you can reorder them. Here you have an autocomplete. And autocomplete is a really good option here because it allows the user to enter the text and then it will match the choice that matches this text. Which means if I have a dog here and a cat, and here I have a horse. Now when I submit this or I publish this, when I type D, just if I came in the survey and I type a D here, it will select the dog automatically for me. And this will make it easier for the user to find the choice they need to select. If the list is long, if they have like 100 choice, they can just type the first letter, second letter, and then it will find the choice for them. And you can, same thing, make it required and make it a cache. And here we have ratings, and ratings is like a star or 5 stars. Is very simple thing, and you can add the ratings up to 5, and you can have the icon to be like this or like that. It's a very nice tool to have if you want to have someone to add a rating for the thing they are seeing or the survey they are collecting. So the rating is like 3, 5, 10 as you see here, but it's completely up to you. You can customize it, say, oh, I want to have like 20 stars if that's an option for you. So the maximum is 10, so just keep it at 5 as usual. We all know what that means, and you can set the default value from here by selecting I want every time the user see 5, or I want to see nothing, and the user will fill up if it's 1, 2, or 3, or 5. So I'm gonna keep it like that, and it's a very simple control, but this is another control. And then here we have the Likert, and the Likert is like, do you agree or disagree? It's very similar to the 5-star review, but here it's strongly agree, natural agree, strongly agree. And actually you can edit them from here. You can say I want to have only 3 options, I want to have 5 or 7, or you can customize it for up to 10. And here you can enter the values of what the user will choose. As you see sometimes in regular surveys, when you go to a restaurant and after you finish, they give you a paper and say like, how much are you satisfied with the service? I'm not happy, I'm okay, I'm happy. So this is the options you can have using this control. So we're gonna keep this one the same because we don't need to change anything other than the title and what is the value for this control. And then you go back here again in the add, and you have the number, and this is similar to single line text, but it will only accept numbers. It will not accept characters. It will only accept numbers. And this is good, for example, if you want to collect a phone number, or if you want to collect like a social security number or a bank account number, anything that have just numbers, it's good to add it here. For example, if in my survey here, I need to know how many dogs they saw. So if they found a dog or a cat, they need to choose from here, and then they need to tell me how many of this cats or this animal they saw. So I cannot allow them to add characters here. I need to allow them to only add numbers, and this is a control to allow numbers only. And you can also add the minimum and the maximum value for this specific control. Here we have a date, and this one is a date picker. It's really easy tool and really nice tool to allow you to choose a date. So you cannot use it right now here because this is the design view, but when we go to the app, you will see that once you select the date, it will automatically select the date and the time of today, and this is make it much easier for the users to, instead of typing the date, they just get the date right away from this control if you want to collect the date. And here in the settings, you have the default value. It's either going to be the submitting date and time, which is going to be the current date and time. And instead of the user like typing a different date or different time, you can set it from here. Or if there is a specific date and time you want the user to have all the time as the default value, you can set it up from here and say, I want to have it like on August 10th and on a specific time. Here the appearance, you can have the appearance by day, month, year, as you see here, or you can change it month and year, or you can change it to year only. So this is the only choices you have for the appearance of the date picker. Same things here, we have, this is a required question. Here you have a different like limit other than the minimum and the maximum. You have a start date and end date. So for example, if you know that your survey must be collected within 2020, then you should not allow the user to enter any dates other than from the beginning, like let's say January. Let's check this one and say January, let's say 2022. Let's say January 2021 all the way up to December 31st in 21. So this is how it will look like if you want to limit the user to choose dates within a certain limit. And also here you have the same thing as if you want to make it required and cache the answer for this question. So let's go back here and see what else we have. We have the time, and this will allow you to add just the time. And here you have submitting time, which is going to be the current time. And here you can specify the time. So same thing we have with the date, but you can do that with the time. And also we have another control, date and time. This one will allow you to collect the date and time in the same entry. So if you know you are going to collect the date and the time, it's better to delete this one and delete this one, and you can just use this control. One of the things that you notice here right now, that if you want to delete a control, you just choose it like this, and then you click on the delete. And if you want to make a copy out of this control, you can just click on the duplicate and it will create a new one for you right here. We have a third option that I'm going to show you, and this one is to create a set rule, and this is the one that's going to make some controls visible if I choose a certain value. After I finish all the controls, I'm going to show you how to use this, but for every single control you have these two choices at least, the delete and the duplicate. So for example, you can use a duplicate if you customize the control and you want to make a duplicate out of it. You can use the duplicate instead of adding a new control and set up all the settings again. You can save yourself some time by make a copy, or you can delete any control from here. So far we have the date and time. Here's the date and time, and it's the same thing. You can submit the date and time or set a limit for the date and time the user is selecting. Let's go back here again, and we have image, and this is a really good tool because usually in the surveys they need to collect images. So before we have this technology, we used to go to the field and collect survey with a paper, and we write all the information in the form that we already pre-designed before, and we have a camera or our phone to take photos, and then when we go to the office we add this to the database and we add the images to the database. Right now this makes things so much easier by just adding an image and say, here now the user can actually take a photo or upload an image from their photo library to the survey. And in the settings here, the image source can be browse images or use camera, or you can allow them to use the camera only, so they cannot upload images from their phone. It's good to keep the option browse images or use the camera, because sometimes the user take a picture and then later maybe they add it to the survey. So here it's good to keep this choice, browse images or use camera. You can make this as required, so the user at least need to submit at least one image, and here you specify file count, and here you can set this is a required, so the user cannot submit the survey unless they add at least one photo, and here you set how many photos that you are allowed them to take. So I'm gonna allow them to take up to 5, and this will restrict the user that they must enter 5 images. Sometimes the user don't need to enter as many images as 5. They just need to enter maybe 1 or 2, but they need to have the option to enter up to 5. This is when you set the minimum and the maximum. So here I can say the minimum images is 1 image and the maximum is 5. So the user can add only 1 image, and they can add up to 5 images, but they cannot add more than that. So you can change this however you want, and this will allow you to give more flexibility to the user to add more images. Make sure that if you specify file count without setting a minimum and maximum, that means that your user must enter 5 images, which is sometimes confusing and annoying. So make sure to set the minimum and the maximum. So that's for the images, and it's very easy control that when we open the app and see the form, you will see how this looks like. So here we have the file upload, and this allows you to upload files, because as you know, the survey can be used on the phone app and can be used on the browser. So if you use the survey on the browser, it will ask you if you want to attach any files or folders from your computer or tablet, or if you are using your phone, it will ask you if you want to attach a video, a voice recording, or any files on your phone, either Android or iOS. This is the tool you can use to upload this file. And here, as you see, it asks you what type of files you want to allow the users to add. So you have like PDF or document or PowerPoint or text, and you can limit which one to be allowed to be added as an attachment. Same thing with the pictures. We have here specify the file count or set a minimum and maximum file count, so the user can add as many files or at least one, up to you how you want to set it up for your user. So we go back here again and we see the map, and this is the most important thing in the survey, because without a map we are not using ArcGIS, right? So here we have a map, and the map is the important thing because you need the location where you collect your survey, right? So usually if you are collecting a GIS data, you go in the field with the paper form and the picture. Usually you will go to the field with a camera to take pictures and a paper form to write down what is the survey you are collecting and the data you are collecting, and you will have a GPS device to record the location where you took this survey. And on the map, they need to define if this feature layer or this feature service or whatever data they are collecting, is this a point or a line or an area? So sometimes in the survey they need to collect an area for, let's say, a habitat or animal living somewhere, so they need to record the location. So in the phone app they will be able to add a polygon by moving around and take points for this polygon, or they can do the same with a line, or they can do the same with a point. So I'm gonna make it just a point right now to make it easier, but you can collect lines and you can collect polygons, but it must be one type of shape. So here you can select the line or the polygon and say I want my polygon to be a freehand polygon or shape, or I want my user to collect lines and it could be a freehand line or polyline. So this is the options you have right here to define how your shape for this survey is going to look like. So I'm gonna keep it as point right now to make it easier for us when we show it on the app, but you can choose any kind of geometry from here. Here you can define how your map will look like. So you can change the base map for this map. So for example, I'm gonna make it streets. And also from here you can define the extent for the map, the default extent for the map. I will make it where I live right now in California, and I'm just gonna make it, you can only collect the data here. This is the location where you can collect the data. So once I open the map and I start adding a survey, it will show me my location on the map using the GPS from my phone, and it will only show me this extent. Initially I can zoom out or zoom in or pan, but this is the default extent I will have on my map. Here it asks for device location when opening this question. So as you know, any app you are using on your phone, once the first time you are using it, it will ask you, do you want to allow location access for this app? So this is the question that every time you open the map it will ask you this question. Usually it will ask you for the first time you use Survey123. By default it will ask you, but then here you can define if you want it to ask you every single time or not. So I'm not gonna check this one because I just don't want to keep getting this question all the time. Other than that, it's the normal settings for this control like any other control if it's required, or you can cache the answer to record the same location every time. So this is the map, and this is the most important control here, because without the map we don't have an actual ArcGIS survey. It's gonna be just a default survey. You don't have to add a map, you can use it without the map, but the map is where you can record the location for the survey. And as you see here, we can only add one map per survey. You cannot add multiple maps because every survey is an actual feature layer or a feature service. And when you create a feature layer, you need to define if it's going to be a point or line or a polygon. And you cannot have multiple shapes, or you cannot have multiple geometries in the same feature layer. That's why it doesn't allow you to add more than one map and choose one type of geometry, either point or line or polygon. So that's for the map here. Here we have the ranking, and the ranking is just a ranking control, so you can rank your questions. So here I'm gonna change these values to 1 to 3, and I'm gonna call this ranking control, so we can see how it will look like and how it's different from the single choice control. So this is two different controls. I cannot show you exactly how this works here, but I can show you how it's gonna work on the phone app when we open the surveyor. And as you notice here, we have an icon here. When you hover on it, you cannot click on it, but when you hover on it, it says the order of choices has been randomized. If you want your orders to be random, this is the check, as you know, to make it random. If you don't want it to be random, you need to uncheck this one, and now you can put the 3 here and the 1 here, and it's gonna follow your order exactly as you ordered it here. If you check this one, it's gonna tell you that this is gonna be random, and as you see here, the choice has been changed, and it show you just this icon just to let you know that this is a random choice. This icon is not gonna show on the phone app in the actual survey. This is just in the design. So many things here that's not gonna show up in the actual survey. It's just gonna show up on the design. For example, when you select a control, you see this blue marks that shows you which control you're choosing. This is not going to show up on the app or when you actually take the survey. Also, this choice is here to delete and duplicate is not going to show up. This is just for the design. And here this number is not going to show up. None of that going to show up. It's just going to be the actual control, and it's going to look completely different than how it looks like here. here is just for the design, so you have to keep that in mind all the time. So this is a ranking control. Let's go back here and add an email. So this is an email control. The good thing about this control is gonna validate the entry from the user. So if the user entered anything other than email format, like their name at anywebsite.com, it's not gonna accept this. It must have the at and .com or .net at the end. So it must match the email format. And this is a really good control to do validation on the entry, similar to the number control. As you see in the number control, the control gonna just accept numbers. This one just gonna accept emails. Here we have a website, so you can allow the user to enter a website, and again it's gonna validate the entry that must be www.something.com or .net or any other. So the format must match a website or a URL. And this one is a really good tool. If you know that the user might enter a URL value, you need to use this one. And here we have the signature control, and you can add it anywhere as any other control, but this is a really good control if you want the user to add a signature for their survey before they submit it. You can use this control, and this will allow them to actually use their finger to like add a signature, and then once they have it, you have a signature for their form they submitted, so you have a validation for this form. So for example, if they submit a form and they said this is the choices and this is my form, they can sign it, and then that's a confirmation that this person actually submitted this form. So you don't have a lot of options here, just like validation. They must sign or not. Most likely I will leave it yes, because if I add this control, that means I need them to sign it. And here you can change this text, and this is the text that's gonna show down here. You can let them know or change it to anything you want. So for example, if I add this, it's similar to the hint for the other controls. So that's just inline description for what this control does. Other than that, you can change the label, and you can change the hint, and it's gonna show on here. Like for example, I can say here, please sign here, something like that. And this is the signature control. We have another note control, and the note control is very similar to the multi-text, but it's just a note, so you can add your notes. And here you can have let's say notes, and say please enter your note here. And as you see, I can change the note to be like, for example, I can change the form for it. I can add a picture. I can make it as a URL, www.arcgismastery.com. And now I have a URL here that the user can enter, and then when they click on this one, it's going to open the browser on their phone or tablet for this URL. So you can customize it with an HTML tags. You can change the color, the font, the size. You can add images, so we can have notes for the user to look at these notes. It's not going to be, they are not going to be able to change it, but you can give them some instructions and some information about how to use this survey or what's needed from this survey by using this HTML tags. And here the last two controls we have is a group. So let's see the group. When you add a group, you can add multiple controls to this group. So here I have I want to group my questions, so I want to add the date and time, and I want to add the photo, and I want to add like the file upload all together in one group. And the reason to do this is to show all this as one group, so I can show and hide these groups however I want. When I show you how to set the rules, we can show this entire question or this entire group at once. And the last control we have here is the page, and the page is actually adding another page for this page. It's a little bit complicated, but I'm not going to describe it right now. I'm going to describe it after I show you the rules first. Okay, so what I want to show you right now is the rules. So let's try to take this drop down here and say, for example, if you want to change this one, I want to show you how to set rules. So here I'm gonna say, do you want to add attachment? That's a question, right? So they have the option to say yes or no, and I'm going to make no as the default choice. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a rule that shows this group or any specific control when they use yes. So if I came here and I said I want to set a rule, and I set my rule will be if the option is yes, I want to show the control that called attachment to group. As you see here, we have all the other controls that we added, so you can show or hide any group. So now when I choose this, if the user choose yes, it will show the attachment to group, which is the group that have the date and time and the pictures and the file upload controls. Anything else other than yes, it's not going to show this control. So now, as I see here, you see this icon here on the top, that means that this control have a rule. This one here, or the small one on the top here, that means that this control now have a rule. You still can see the control in the design mode, but when you open the survey on the phone app, you are not going to see this one unless you choose, do you want to add attachment, and you choose yes. As long as it's no, or by default it's no, this is going to be hidden and it's going to only show up when you have yes. And this is a really good control because sometimes you need to have like multiple choices. Like for example, if you are collecting data for animal habitat and you want to collect not just what type of animal, you wanted to collect what kind is the animal, or what colors is the animal, what properties is the animal. So if I select cats, I want to show specific options. If I select dogs, I want to show specific options. Like here, if I select yes, I want to add attachments, I want to show the attachments control. If I said I don't want to add attachments, there's no reason to show this. So that's a really good tool to use to add more control and more visibility to your control and manage your survey and design it however you want. You can set as many rules as you want. So for example, in the no, let's say for example, I'm going to choose, if the user choose no, I want to show the ranking control, just as an example. And you can add as many options as you want. You can add multiple options and you can add multiple rules as well. So here right now, when the user select yes, it's going to show them this control. When the user select no, it's going to hide this control and show another one. So at any time, you're either going to have this control, the attachment group shown, or you're going to have the ranking control shown. Either this or that, one of them going to be shown. And as you see right now, you can drag and drop the control anywhere you want just to adjust how the control looks. So this rule here, do you want to add attachment? If I said yes, I'm going to see this attachment group. If I said no, I'm going to see the ranking control. And because I have this rule here, I cannot see both of them at the same time anymore. Now I'm going to either see this or that. So that's how you can set the rules. You can set the rules for any multi-choice one. So for example, if I choose this one, I can... So this is how you can set the rules. You can set the rules for any multi-choice option. So for example, this one here, I can set the rules, say if it's a Saturday, do this. If it's Sunday, do this. And I can change my rules however I want. So if the user select Monday, it's going to be show this control or hide this control. It's going to be show this control. If the user select a specific value from here, here you choose what control you want to show. So this is how to set the rules. The last thing I want to show you is the page. So what I want you to notice right now that everything I added right here, this is one page. So what that means is when the user open the app, all that will gonna show as a one survey, like they can scroll up and down and they will see all these controls together. But what I will do, I will add a page right here and that's gonna create a separate page. So this page, I can add different controls to it. So I can add this control and I can add email control, and I can add as many controls as I want. But you're not gonna see all these controls in the same like scroll or same page. You're gonna see this page on a specific condition. So let's say for example, instead of having this instead of having this random controls, I want to have my second page to be including the date and time. I want to take this one and put it all the way down. As you see, I can drag and drop my controls anywhere I want, and I'm gonna call it signature date and time. Date and time. And I want to add also the signature control all the way down in this one. So that will allow the user to focus on adding all the data in the first page, and when they finish adding all the data and collected the survey for the first page, they will click next page, and when they go to the next page, it will show the title here. Let's call this page signature required, and I'm gonna make this one required and this one required, so they cannot submit this survey unless they choose the date and time and they choose the signature or add their signature. And that's the last thing we have here is the page control, so you can add as many pages as you want. And there's page 1 and page 2 and page 3, and they're gonna go from first page to the second one to the third one till they finish all the pages, and then they can submit. You can delete this page completely, and when you delete it, it will delete the questions inside of it, or you can merge this page with the page on top of it. So if you want to remove the page, and also you can duplicate the page and make an extra page right here. So that's basically all the controls we have right here. And this is the edit. If you want to edit a specific control, you just select the control and make sure you are on the edit tab. There's an appearance and options that I'm going to show you in the next video. But right now what I want to show you is how can you publish this survey. So after you design your survey the way you want it to be, you added the controls you want, you added the map, you chose the geometry, and you did all these things that we just did right now, and you finished designing your survey, make sure to save it first. And also you have the option to save as, and save as will make a copy out of the survey, so you're gonna have two surveys looking exactly the same. And here you have an option to do a preview, and the preview will show you how the survey will look like on the web browser. It's not gonna show you how the survey will look like on the phone app, but it will show you how the survey will look like on the web browser. So here you have the survey when you click next. As you see here, we have the single text, and this is the default value. Here you have the date or the day, and here you have this grid, and here you have the multi-choice. We already selected this one as a default. Here you have the numbers. Now I'm trying to enter characters. It's not allowing me to enter any characters. I can only enter numbers. Do you want to add attachments? As you see, if you remember, the attachment group control is not showing. We have the ranking control because it's no. But now I can just delete this one, and I'm gonna see that I have two options here, yes. And when I select yes, when I select yes, the ranking control disappears, and now I have this control here. And you can see how it's gonna look like on the phone. So this is how it's gonna look like on the phone, and this is how it's gonna look like on the phone or on the tablet. So this is the different options that you can see how your survey is going to look like and how you can collect the data. But I'm gonna still show you exactly how it's gonna look like on the iOS app, so we can actually collect a survey and add images and add attachments and add all these questions that we already added controls for it. But right now I just want to show you that you have the options to see how your survey will look like before you close this and you go back to your design and you do the last and most important part of this entire process, which is publish the survey. So when you click publish the survey, it will ask you that there's a schema already created for this survey. And what that means is when we added these questions, as I told you, ArcGIS Online will create a feature layer for this survey, and it will define every single field based on the type of the control. So if you added a control that takes integer or numbers only, it will create a field that called like numbers, and it's gonna add the type for this field to be integer. If you added like selected the shape to be point or line or polygon, there's gonna be a shape column, and this is gonna be point or line or polygon based on your selection for the control. So here it just shows you, do you want me to show you this question all the time for the schema? I'll say okay, that's fine. Here you can modify this schema before you publish it. So again, if you look at this one, you will see here that this is a control you created. We have a single line text control, right? And here's the name for the field. So when we go to the feature service, after we publish this one, when we go to the feature service, you will see that there's a field called single underscore line underscore text underscore control. You can change this name however you want before you publish your survey. And here's the field type. This is a string. And here's the maximum value for it is 255. This is a field length. You can customize it however you want, as we saw in the minimum and the maximum value. You can customize it from here. But here it shows you how the schema for this feature service is going to look like. For every single control, there is a certain field, and there's a name for this field, and there's a type, and there is a length for this field. You don't need to change anything here if you don't know exactly what you're doing, but I want to show you that here you have the option to customize your feature layer that is associated with this survey before you publish it. And if you didn't do any changes, make sure to close this one and click publish. And the publishing gonna take few seconds, maybe probably a minute or two, but after we publish it, I will be able to see it on the phone app, and this is what we are going to see in the next video. I'll show you how to open the survey on your phone as a field user who is actually collecting the survey, and we are gonna submit surveys for this survey that we just created right now. And right after it's finished publishing, I will see you in the next video. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.